I am making a batch of cheesy meatball subs. They have Dad written all over it. They have Lad written all over it. And I'm gonna start with the meatballs now. So I poured some marinara sauce into a baking dish, and these are cheesy meatballs. So I have squares of mozzarella cheese, cubes of mozzarella cheese, and I got some ready-made meatballs, and these are pork and beef, but you can obviously make your own meatball mixture. So I'm just gonna press this piece of mozzarella right into the center of the meatball, and then just use my fingers to kind of enclose the cheese. And then it's as if you never saw the cheese. I have some good news. Lad is gonna be up here at the lodge later today, and I'm gonna share some of this yummy food with him. We love to see Lad in the Drummond Ranch kitchen. Okay, I got the meatballs stuffed, and I put them into the marinara sauce. So let's go put this in the oven, Alex. These are gonna bake at 425 degrees for about 22 to 24 minutes until they're totally cooked. And in the meantime, I'm gonna start making a cheese sauce that's gonna go on top of the cheesy meatball subs. This is one of those recipes that's just like so many layers of flavors and ingredients. They are gonna be so good. So I have a saucepan with butter that I melted, and I'm gonna sprinkle in some flour and add salt and pepper, and I'll give this a whisk. The roux is all cooked, and I'm gonna add some milk and stir this together. And it was so hot that it's already starting to bubble. That didn't take long at all. So I'm gonna turn the heat down, and I'm gonna add a bunch of mozzarella cheese. This is a cheesy, cheesy cheese sauce, and some grated Parmesan. And I'm gonna save some of this back to serve the subs later. All right, so I'm gonna stir the cheese in and give it a chance to melt. Look at this white sauce. Woo, it's cheesy, cheesy. I'm gonna stir it for a little longer, let it thicken first. Turn on the heat under the grill pan. And I have some sub rolls, and I'm not gonna split them open and grill them. I'm just gonna put them kind of face down on the grill pan, just so they have nice grill marks and get a little bit heated up before I build the subs. Okay, look at these meatballs.
Oh my gosh.
I love that they're just submerged in the sauce. And look at this one that kind of busted loose and started oozing. Oh, it just smells heavenly. So I'm gonna save most of the meatballs for when Lad gets here, but I'm gonna build one of these so you can see the absolute beauty. So you can see the little grill marks on the top of the sub, just to give it flavor. And I'll go ahead and get the meatballs on here. Whoa, my goodness. I'm gonna do 3 meatballs per sub. 1, 2. I'll do this cheesy one just so it drives the point home. And then definitely get spoonfuls of the marinara. Uh-oh. Cheese string. Cheese on the loose. Are you with me here, Alex?
Yep.
Okay. Sauce and banana peppers, which I think make any sort of sub sandwich delicious. And you can really pile these high. You could do jalapenos if you want more heat. Next, I know this is the part you're really waiting for.
This is the star of the show.
The cheese sauce. First of all, here's the cheese sauce.
Oh my goodness.
And here's the cheese sauce on the sandwich. Again, you can use as little or as much as your heart tells you to do.
Oh my God.
It looks so good. And then some Parmesan. And I like a bit of green just to set off that gorgeous cheesy sauce. How does it look? I can't even close it. I won't even try. All right, cheesy meatball subs. This is dad-friendly dining if I've ever seen it.
I'm gonna make a relish that's gonna go on this danger dog. What is a danger dog? What is a danger dog? I'm gonna stuff jalapenos inside of a hot dog and wrap it in bacon and then put this righteous relish on top of it. Say it, righteous relish. Okay, so here's what I did is I broke down half the pineapple, little veg oil, this thing is smoking hot. Okay, on we go with the pineapple. Save a piece for me. Nice little grill marks, not looking to cook it, just kind of put a little char to it. Take this big spoon, so I took the center seed out. I'm just gonna kind of get this right inside, twist it around, and this is super ripe. Pull all that flesh out. Let's get back to making the rest of this relish that's gonna go on top. So pickle relish, some jalapeno, little Fresno chili or red jalapeno. Fresno's a little bit spicier. Red onion, and some lemon juice, okay? Let's see what we're looking like here. Beautiful. So a little jalapeno. I like the Fresno, I want the heat. Get this jalapeno slices down. Okay. Put that. Into a bowl. Now we'll get a little bit of lemon juice in there, a little acid from that. A little bit of olive oil. Touch of some salt and pepper. Go. A little bit of the relish. There we go. And some lemon juice. Like this. We'll squeeze. That's a little bit of acid there for it. Lime juice would work great too. You got onions, peppers, a little bit of relish, but to dial it down, calm it down. Kind of stuck mango. Took the core of this out, and that char is going to be perfect. Those are nice and soft. There we go. Okay. That in. This is some nice applewood smoked bacon and a super hot. There's the jalapeno. I cut out the round a touch. I got a jalapeno strip, okay? So here's what's gonna happen. These are gonna cook, really just warm up, get all those flavors. We've got a hot dog, all beef dog, stuffed with jalapenos, wrapped in bacon, all put together. Check this out. We're gonna hit some mustard, this killer relish that I made starting off with some relish, some jalapenos, some red Fresno chilies, a little bit of grilled pineapple. Now we'll just hit some mustard on top, your favorite mustard. There's also a little grilled mango in there. Okay, look at this, huh? A little red onion. Now we'll get this delicious, now this had a chance to kind of set up a little bit. Check out the beautiful colors on that. Right on top. So the Danger Dog has got the jalapeno in it, wrapped in the applewood smoked bacon, and then grilled off, kind of give it a chance to render down, kind of, you know, the dogs, you know, they come out of the package, they're kind of soft. This kind of toughens them up a little bit. So you got some great texture. Tell me that doesn't look awesome. Look at that bad boy. Just like I'm in the streets of Tijuana. It's everything. Spicy, salty, sweet. I mean, if you ever told me you could get umami in a dog, that is it. But that's the time of the year.
So we have our skirt steak here, and the skirt steak is a very flavorful steak. It's also less expensive than if you went and bought like a filet mignon or a ribeye or a New York strip. The key to skirt steak is marinating it with something really impactful, that like we're gonna do today, our green chimichurri, but then also grilling it to the right temperature. You don't wanna overcook it, and then cutting it against the grain so it's nice and tender when you're eating it. All right, let's start with our chimichurri. So we're gonna put a whole bunch of herbs in here. Traditionally, in Argentina, it's mostly parsley, sometimes a little oregano. So we're gonna take some flat leaf Italian parsley, and then some fresh oregano. And I'm gonna add some fresh mint. This is great on a hot summer day. We have our herbs, and we need garlic. I mean, garlic is the sort of #1 key element in Argentinian cooking is this right here, fresh garlic. Okay, so we're gonna take some fresh garlic, and then some crushed red peppers, a little bit of heat, some salt and pepper. Ooh, I can smell that mint. It's really nice. Some red wine vinegar. And I'm gonna pour some, just a little bit of canola oil. Make sure the garlic gets really nicely crushed up. Okay. I'm gonna pour this chimichurri. Now you can serve this as a sauce on the side, but see, I made it just a little bit looser because I'm using this as a marinade. Make sure that it really gets covered in this chimichurri. We're gonna let this sit for at least a few hours. So let's go over to our Argentinian parrilla, our grill, and we're just gonna put the skirt steak right on the grill. Amazing. Want all this marinade to really cook in there. If you watch people in Argentina grill, there's always all kinds of different things on the grill. Usually it's like 2 or 3 cuts of beef, potatoes, some chorizo, all kinds of different things like happening on the grill. I love that. All right. Should be cooked enough. It has a really beautiful crust on the outside. We're just gonna plate our steak up here. This is our skirt steak. So the grain is running this way, so we're gonna cut it this way. A little bit on the bias. Marinate it a little bit. Grill it to like medium rare, medium the most, and then let it rest. Beautiful. All right, so I'm gonna put our steak right on here. And then we have our gorgeous red chimichurri. Now you can serve it on the side like in this mortar and pestle, or you can just kind of put it right on top of the steak or next to the steak. This is our red chimichurri. It's really nice. I'm gonna just sort of steal a taste. So much flavor.
First thing we're gonna start off with is, wait for it, donkey sauce. Yes, the infamous donkey sauce. You wanna know how it came about? I was getting ready to make these burgers for some friends of ours. We were putting this burger concept together, and they said, why do you call it donkey sauce? And I said, because if you don't try it, well, you're just a jackass. But thank you very much. That's that's the real name. I'm not kidding you. So here's how we're gonna start it off. First, just a little bit of mayonnaise. Some roasted garlic. Yellow mustard. I know. You're seeing it all. A little Worcestershire sauce. Touch of some salt. Cracked black pepper. So everything you love about mayonnaise, the fat, the creaminess, the saltiness, all we did was amp it up and take the flavor another level. That's donkey sauce. All right, donkey sauce is done. What do we need next? The SMC, the super melted cheese. You gotta promise you're not gonna show anybody this. Now, in this pot, I have a little bit of water already going. Now I'm gonna add some half and half. This, we gotta go low and slow. I have some processed cheese, all cubed up, and we're gonna bring this temperature up nice and easy so it doesn't break. We'll go in with a little bit of Worcestershire and just a little kiss of some Tabasco. It's not gonna be hot, but you get the idea. We need to just have a little bit of heat in there, okay? So we're gonna let this go low and slow. And as that processed cheese starts to melt a little bit, we're gonna add in some of my other favorite cheeses. You could go with a double boiler with this. I don't think it's necessary. If you just don't crank the heat, you won't burn it, you won't scorch it. Just take your time. Processed cheese starting to melt a little bit. Now we're gonna back it up with some real cheese. We're gonna get in some smoked Gouda. And again, we shred it really thin and give it a chance to melt nicely. We'll get in with some cheddar, shredded really finely. Whisk would also be a nice thing to do, but as always, I just have one utensil. If I could make this into a knife and a fork and a pair of tongs all at the same time, like a gigantic Swiss Army knife, tell you, I'd be going places. A little provolone. There we go. Now it's really starting to work for us. Beautiful. Now, one of the real keys to this cheese sauce is to hand shred it so you don't get that funky little dust that they put on the outside of the cheese to keep it from coagulating when it's inside the bag. I mean, I'll tell you one thing about buying cheese. Buy that whole block and shred it yourself. We'll just keep the cheese sauce warm. It's ready to go. Beautiful. Okay, next up, the burger. Now, what we have here is 80-20 ground beef. And when we're talking about making great burgers, if I'm getting everybody over and we're gonna do it, I would recommend going to the butcher and saying, grind me up a little bit of brisket, give me some short rib, and give me some chuck. If you're gonna do it right. We've got about 1.5 pounds here, so this should make us about 4 6-ounce patties. My favorite way to do it, just to make sure that we're keeping everybody even, because you know with 2 boys, if you don't make the patties even, someone's gonna be upset that someone got a bigger one. Okay, so we take the patty, we're gonna ball it up. Don't press it super hard. Now, I want you to do this at home. I want you to just hit that salt all the way around. Roll that salt all the way around with your favorite kosher salt, and it's seasoned. No pepper, nothing else, just like this. I have my flat top over here, but since I know that you might not have one at home, I want to show you how to do this with a cast iron. If you don't have cast iron, I want you to go get one. Sporting goods stores have them galore. Go to Camp Chef, anybody's got them. But really good cast iron is the way to go, and we're gonna drop this down. There we go, that's what we're looking for, okay? Cold meat hot pan. While that's going, wash my hands real quick. Smash of the patty. Seasoned all the way around. One over the top. Sometimes you'll see people do it with a big hand press. That's what I'm looking for. And you only get to smash it once, folks. Brioche bun. Get a little bit of this garlic butter on there. As soon as we see some of the juice float to the top, we're gonna flip it and try to put it in another spot where it wasn't just exactly at. And that's what we're looking for, that nice crust, that Maillard effect on top. Smoky smells burgers. We're gonna treat both sides of the bun. Now, gotta get this working real quick. Gonna take some of the cheese sauce. This is a little hot, so it's gonna run a bit on us, but you'll get the general idea. When it cools down, it's a little bit easier to apply to it. We're gonna take the cheese sauce, throw it right up on top. Throw the cheese on top. Dome and some water. This steam is gonna help melt that cheese better than any salamander putting it under the broiler. So like this. This is just the exact way we do it in the restaurant. Guy's Kitchen and Bar, Guy's Burger Joint, you go on Carnival Cruise Lines, you watch what they're doing. This is exactly how it goes down. Okay? A little bit of the donkey sauce. Liberally, we call it coast to coast. Want to get that fat all the way across. Hit a few pickles right on the bottom. Pickles are key, gotta have that acid, gotta have that tang. Really thin onions. Okay. That's what I'm talking about. That's melted cheese right on top of it. Thin sliced iceberg lettuce, a couple thin sliced tomatoes, nice toasted brioche bun. And ladies and gentlemen, that's the burger. That cheeseburger right there, we won New York City Food and Wine Festival, Burger Bash. We've sold hundreds of thousands of these. But I want you to take a look at it. Juicy, scratch-made, handmade. My mouth is watering so bad. Are you ready? I gotta be honest with you. It's a simple burger, And it's a simple recipe. You just got to use great ingredients, and you got to follow the rules. You're going to serve it just like we do at the restaurant.
Grilled lamb chops. For the marinade, I am going to go a little bit of lemon zest and a little bit of lemon juice. So we're just going around getting our lemon ready to go, and then we work right into the juice.
Would other citruses be good in this marinade?
Well, if you want to be Greek about it, lemon is the one you want to roll with. But orange would work. I don't love lime with lamb. Also, red wine vinegar, Liv, I think would be very nice in here if you wanted to use that for your acid as well. All right, so juice and zest is in. We're going to smash a couple cloves of garlic. All right, garlic's in. Now some oregano. With the oregano, you don't even have to chop it. You could just peel it right off. Remember, this is just gonna flavor everything. So if you get a stem or two in there, not the end of the world either. Right. But you know, this is how my mom has taught me how to make it. So it's how I'm making it today. Olive oil.
And does this matter if it's extra virgin or normal olive oil?
Yeah, I mean, for this, because we're gonna go right over the heat with it and it's gonna get really hot on the grill, I'm just going with the regular olive oil. Extra virgin would certainly work, but not necessary. We could season these up with salt and pepper now because we're not gonna marinate this forever, so we don't have to worry about the salt cooking our chops. So high from above, make it rain. Oh, you gotta play the wind here, Liv.
Do you dry the lamb chops the same as like you dry chicken or something?
I do. Like when the lamb chops come out, you know, you can give them a quick dab with the towel to make sure that there's not a lot of moisture. Anything that you cook on a grill or in a pan, you don't want the exterior of it to be wet because that creates steam. A marinade, oil does not create steam, but moisture does. So we don't want that to happen. All right, these go in, and I just kind of smash them around, and we let these marinate up to an hour, you know, or at least an hour, I would say up to 6. And then after that, too much. So lamb is good, letting it marinate. We could let it hang out, no problem. I'm gonna finish them with a little bit of sea salt, rosemary, and lemon, and I'm gonna show you how you could easily make your own seasoned salt. So we're putting the zest of a lemon in here. Any citrus zest would work great. And then we're gonna take a little bit of fresh rosemary and give it a rough chop. So I'm gonna take this and just do a little rough chop on it, just to kind of get it moving. And then once we get this chopped, then we're gonna start working it into our salt. So just pretty rustic, rough chop. This is one of the few times where I tell you always with herbs to go one smooth pass, but this time I actually want to get the oils of the herbs moving so they leach out into my salt. So there's the rosemary, and then we're gonna take some coarse sea salt and add that to the rosemary and the lemon. And once we kind of go with that equal ratio, you just take your fingertips and you start working the lemon and the herbs into that salt. And what it does is it just perfumes the salt with all this deliciousness. So you often see, like you go to like fancy restaurants and they finish things with the, you know, the crunchy salt or the sea salt. And this is just adding a little nuance of flavor. So when the lamb comes off the grill, I'm gonna hit it with extra virgin olive oil and some of this seasoned crunchy sea salt. All right, so lamb chops go on. These have been marinated, they are seasoned, and they are ready for their happy place. Now see, this is what I was talking about earlier. Liv, see the flames?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna panic. I'm gonna get all the lamb on here. And this is because we have some oil in the marinade, which is causing flames. And I know, Liv, you're going, oh my gosh, Michael, you're going down.
I'm about to drop the camera and run.
Don't, Liv, you don't have to stop, drop, and roll. Just close your lid. We close the lid, we close the vent. It tamps the fire down, no problem. We don't want that rolling fire, Liv, because the rolling fire, then your chops not only get charred, but they get like a little bit of bitterness to it. So when you see a flame go up, drop the lid down and you're good. And then we just pop this open, you can see, flame comes back, we pop the lid. 6 minutes on the grill, you're done. All right, so we're gonna just open this up. With any meat like this, you always would like to let it rest a little bit. So these are going to come off the grill. And the reason we let it rest is they're gonna stay plenty hot, but the juices are gonna kind of go back into the meat, so to ensure that we have a juicy bite with every bite. Lamb chops are off the grill, they have rested. I'm gonna hit them with a little drizzle of extra virgin olive oil, like any good little Greek Italian boy would do. And then
I really want to do that.
we have you wanna do this?
I do.
All right, so here you go.
Thank you.
Let it rip, honey.
Look at that, a pie.
Oh, ooh,
Looking
ooh.
good. Good? Is that enough?
Perfect, I think that's perfect. That's the lemon rosemary sea salt. Beautiful, lamb chops are ready. How you doing?
Oh, yeah.
Cook the lamb to about a medium, maybe even medium well. As I said, when I was a kid growing up, we ate lamb well done. So I like it medium beyond. It's just how I love a lamb chop.
But it's so tender, which I really like. It kind of melts in my mouth a little bit.
Yeah, well, these are chops, so they're gonna be tender live, and then it's just got really simple seasonings, but a lot of times people are worried about lamb being gamey. To me, this isn't gamey at all. It's tender, it's juicy.
The dirty little secret about my foolproof ribs is they're actually cooked in the oven until they're falling off the bone and absolutely delicious. And then at the last minute, I throw them on the grill and they get that really charred flavor. They're so good and they're so easy to do. So for the barbecue sauce, I'm starting with 1 onion that I sauteed in vegetable oil. I'm gonna put in 1 tablespoon of chopped garlic. Just cook it for a minute because you don't want to overcook the garlic. 1 cup of tomato paste. It's got a lot of ingredients, but frankly, a lot of them you probably already have in your pantry. 1 cup of cider vinegar, want a little acidity in this. 1 cup of honey. It actually adds a little sweetness, and then it'll caramelize on the grill. 1 cup of Dijon mustard. It's a lot, I know. 1 cup of hoisin sauce. That's the start of the Asian ingredients. 1/2 cup of Worcestershire sauce. 1/2 cup of soy sauce. You still with me? 2 tablespoons of chili powder. That's 1 and 2. 1 tablespoon of ground cumin. Just gives great flavor, really depth of flavor. And a little bit of heat, 1½ teaspoons of crushed red pepper flakes. I want it to be a little hot, right? I'm just gonna bring that to a boil. Mix everything together and let it simmer for 30 minutes. All those flavors are just gonna deepen and get absolutely delicious. They're gonna be so good with the ribs. The barbecue sauce is ready. Time to make the ribs. I use St. Louis ribs, and I find them perfect. They have a lot of meat on the bone, and they're not too big to handle. Okay, so that's 2 teaspoons of salt and 1 teaspoon of pepper. I just season the meat side, not the bone side. And now I'm just gonna slather it with barbecue sauce. So big ladle. I always use aluminum foil underneath it so it's easy cleanup, because these are good and messy. So now I'm gonna cover them loosely with foil, 350 degrees for 1 hour and 45 minutes until the meat is falling off the bone. Whoa, don't those look fantastic? So at this point, I put on a little more barbecue sauce because I think it really needs it. And this is gonna really caramelize on the grill, get that nice barbecue flavor. Okay, and the rest of it, I'm gonna pour into a dish and take outside for dipping once they're all done. Okay, I've got the ribs, I've got the sauce. See you at the grill. I'm just gonna brush it with oil just to make sure the ribs don't stick. Just extra precaution. Whoa, that's a little more exciting than I thought. Okay, let's grill these ribs. I'll place them on the grill, ribs side down. Put the lid on with the vents open and grill them for 5 minutes. Then take the lid off, turn the ribs meat side down, put the lid back on, and cook them for another 5 minutes. Oh wow, look how delicious and perfectly browned these are. So I'll put them on a board, cover them tightly with aluminum foil, and let them rest for 10 minutes. These look fantastic. I only wish you could smell them. This looks so good. Look, they're meaty, they're flavorful, they're tender. You know what? Once I stopped incinerating ribs on the grill and started roasting them first and then barbecuing them, there's no going back.
I'm gonna crank the heat back up and go down with some of these shallots. Now the shallots will be great. This is gonna go not low and slow, but I'm not necessarily looking to caramelize them, just get them translucent. All right, break that in. Oh, nothing better than cooking that sage up. A little fried sage, some brown butter, some raviolis. There we go. And now in with the creminis. And I got a bunch of them, but they're really gonna, you know, they really shrink down. I'm gonna start off with about 5 cups of water. And of course, a little salt and pepper. Nice little amount of dry sage. Now, why the dry sage? Kind of concentrated. And same thing with the granulated garlic. Just put the garlic flavor in there. And let's get a little bit of the Dijon. About 3 tablespoons of that. Give that a little slosh. Now let's talk about double cut pork chops. Going with this sharp paring knife. Nice and easy, taking it all the way back to the bone. But you see how I'm not cutting it all the way open? I'm just creating that little opening right there. So we get inside. Great. Okay, so the pockets are in. Let me get that there. Seal it, press the air out. Always we keep it in a dish so it's not gonna leak in the fridge. Wrap that up. Put that to the side. Now these pork chops can brine, I mean, you can go anywhere 8 to 12 hours. The softer the meat, the quicker it brines. Now here's what's gonna happen. I grab this great stuffing mixture, lay it out, add some pancetta, drop in the fontina. That's gonna be the mixture that's coming together for the pork chops. And here we go, stuffing them and just throwing a bamboo skewer on there to make sure that they stay closed because we're gonna be dredging them here in just a second. So in with that skewer, over the top, and bring it around so it comes back through, and that really ensures that all of that delicious stuffing stays inside that pocket. A little bit of flour in, panko, Japanese breadcrumbs, super dry, not seasoned, and Italian seasoning. Mix that around, and a few eggs. Really help that coating stick to it. Look at that monster, okay? Feed a family of 4. There we go, very liberal with that. Into the breadcrumb mixture. Over in. See, we got some sizzle. Perfect, okay? Coated in the panko, stuffed with the cremini mushrooms, a little bit of pancetta in there as well. Cooked in some bacon fat. Turn this down a bit. Let me get this into the oven. 350, maybe 15 minutes. Look at those monster chops. Stuffed with porcinis. Oh, these things look awesome. And the panko breadcrumbs.
A spice rub to crust on top of the burger, and I'm gonna make a remoulade, a classic Louisiana sauce, mayonnaise based, has a couple different mustards in it. So we're gonna start with sweet paprika, a little cayenne pepper for some heat. We have some onion and some garlic powder, and these are all real classic dried spices that you'll see in a lot of New Orleans or Louisiana cuisine. And then some dried thyme, and then a whole bunch of black pepper and some salt. Mix that up. Well, in my burger, I take the patty and I kind of flatten it out. I take my thumb and I make a well in the burger. When I put the burger on the grill, it's gonna start to plump up, so I don't have to actually get it back to the shape.
You don't have to mash it.
Exactly right.
Okay, I will have to tell my guy friends that because
exactly.
they think that touching the food is the way to go on.
Well, you know what I like to say? There are 2 kinds of guys in the world. Guys that can grill and guys that think they can grill. So I'm gonna take a little bit of canola oil, and I'm just gonna brush the burger just a tiny bit so that the spice rub stays on it. A good amount of salt and pepper, and then the spice rub. So now I'm gonna put the burger's spice side down. Good sizzle there. All right, so my burgers are on the grill, spice side down.
Okay.
And here's a really important rule. I only turn them once. This is for all your guy friends, who are like to grill a lot.
Pay attention, guy friends.
Exactly.
Okay.
I don't want to touch it. I want it to get nice and crusty on the outside.
Okay.
And the only way I can do that is let the burgers alone.
The bottom side's kind of hiding. How do
Yeah.
you know when it's time to flip it over?
Well, you can just give like a peek,
Okay.
you know? Let's take a look here. Okay, we can flip this one. You see that?
Ooh, okay.
Nice and crusty on the outside, and the spice rub has really become part of the burger.
Okay.
And I'm just gonna put half a slice of ham on each one of the burgers, and I'm gonna cover it up with our pepper jack cheese. So it goes something like this. Just sending home that Louisiana flavor.
Ooh, that looks good.
Yeah. Then I'm gonna take some pepper jack cheese. I'm gonna put 2 slices of cheese on my burgers, just because I like extra cheese always. That's my thing. So I'm toasting my hamburger rolls here, which I think is a must. I forgot to do one thing in our remoulade. This is gonna be our condiment for the burger. I actually forgot to put cornichons in here. So it's just mayonnaise, 2 mustards, whole grain and Dijon, some scallions, some parsley, and then the cornichons. So I'm gonna put a little remoulade on the bottom of the bun, just a tiny bit. Let's check on our burgers. See, that one looks good. All right, so I'm gonna put a little remoulade right on top of the burger here. I like contrast of texture, so I put very thin, crisp potato chips on my burger. I call it crunchification. You want yours crunchified?
I do.
All right, you got it. The idea is to kind of crunch it down. So when you pick it up, kind of crunch it down like with the potato chips.
Okay.
So it'll be easier to eat.
Did you have some too?
I'm gonna have one right now.
Oh, okay. So you gotta crunch it down. Ooh, I can see
Nice
the
and
juice
juicy.
is ready.
What kind of flavors are you picking up?
Mustard?
Yeah, exactly. The mustard's in the remoulade. There's 2 different mustards in there. Gives it a little bit of moisture.
This is really good. I feel like it does have all the flavors of Louisiana.
All right, cool.
All right, so we're gonna take the steak. All right, just like this. And we're gonna slice it. All right, think about like a sushi chef, right? We're gonna take a very, very sharp knife and we're gonna slice the steak almost sashimi style. And you want to cut the slices, all right, I mean, really as thin as you can possibly get it, probably a 1/4 inch. The idea is to let the steak melt together, and a thin slice is definitely going to give you that. So we're going to cut the steak, and then we're going to stack it up almost like shingles. All right, now it's really important when you cut the steak to make sure you overlap it with just enough steak that when we pound it, it's going to fuse together and it's going to look like one solid piece. So let's take a look at this. Now what we're looking for is, steak that will cover a beautiful hoagie roll like this. So what we're gonna do is take the edges of the steak and we're just gonna roll it in on top of each other, all right, just like this. And then take the other side and kind of fold it in as well. Then we're gonna pound it one more time and we're gonna have a perfect shape for a steak sandwich. All right, cool. So we can take that same piece of plastic right on top of the whole thing. We're gonna give it a couple more pounds, all right? Now we're gonna season it right before it goes on the grill. At this point, we're gonna take a knife, cut it just like that. Take these 2 pieces of plastic. All right, we stack them right on top of each other. One right on the other. All right, and we are good to go. Quick little wash up. All right, perfect. We throw it right in the fridge. You keep it nice and cold. Just like this. And we have got our steak together for the ultimate steak sandwich. 1, 2, like that. All prepared, ready to go. Good Boy Scout. All right, you're gonna throw this in just like that. So what we're gonna make right now is the bechamel, which is basically like a milk gravy. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the butter, we're gonna cut it in half, and we're gonna drop just like a half a stick in. So we've got about a 1/4 cup of butter, and we're gonna add this equal parts flour, which is about kind of 3 big tablespoons here. 1, 2, 3. Just enough, so it looks like wet sand. We're gonna make this with whole milk. Let's start to melt around a little bit. All right, then what we're gonna do is we're gonna switch gears from a wooden spoon to a wire whisk. And you wanna whisk as you put the milk in pretty vigorously. Then we're just gonna whisk in the whole milk. And we're gonna add about 2 cups of milk to this. The Gruyere is gonna melt perfectly into this. Now, if you want to mix up the cheeses or you can't find Gruyere, you can use anything. Use Swiss cheese, blue cheese, Parmesan, cheddar, a mixture of a few different cheeses if you want to. Probably 1.5 cups or 2 cups of grated Gruyere cheese. It's going to melt instantaneously. Just give that a stir. All right, the Gruyere sauce looks fantastic. It's going to have a beautiful flavor of the beef. Let's take a look at our hoagies. All right, they're kind of hot. See how it's starting to toast on the inside? They look beautiful. A couple more minutes, they're gonna be nice and golden brown. And right now, we are putting a little bit of horseradish into a Gruyere cheese sauce. Then we season up a little bit of salt and pepper, and then we dump probably 1.5 or 2 cups of grated Gruyere cheese. And again, you can add any kind of cheese you want. And then to throw it off with a little kick, all right, we add about a tablespoon of prepared horseradish, the same stuff that you add with your Bloody Mary. So I know you got some in the fridge. And I'm just gonna give it a little taste. That looks beautiful. That's sensational. That just screams out for a steak sandwich right there. And what we're gonna do is take the plastic off. This is how it goes down in Philly, right? Right on the griddle. You got 2, just like that. All right, a little bit of salt, some fresh cracked pepper, and some olive oil. And we're cooking for probably 5 minutes on one side, because you want a really great crust. And then we're gonna flip the whole thing over, and they're gonna stay nice and juicy because it's ribeye. It's really fantastic. What we have here is some arugula dressing, some arugula mayonnaise, a little bit of mayo, all right, some fresh arugula, and a little bit of lemon juice, some extra virgin olive oil, some salt and pepper. And we're just gonna smear one good layer right on the bottom. And then we're gonna hit that flavor home one more time. We got some fresh arugula that we're just gonna put onto the bread here. Again, so it's green, it's crisp, it's fresh. It's not just steak and cheese. It also has a little bit of character to it. A little fancy, you know. And honestly, if you don't have arugula, you can just chop up some lettuce and put it around the bottom anyway, just to get some nice little snap. So you also get some temperature difference as well, you know, because the steak is hot, the greens are cool. It's gonna be really delicious. Okay, so what we're gonna do, guys, check this out. My favorite scene. Okay, we're gonna take the steak, flip it over for a second. Look at that, nice and caramelized. This is how it happens in Philly. 1, 2, 3. Ready to take it off. Drop it on like that. Isn't that beautiful? Look at that. Oh, man. It's crispy, it's delicious, and each steak sandwich is really half of a big, thick ribeye steak. Look at that, awesome, right? And it's sliced so thin, it's so tender, and when you bite into it, the steak just kind of falls apart in your mouth. It's really good. Now take a look at this cheese sauce. That is phenomenal. Wow. Oh. Now a dry eye in the house, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Gruyere cheese sauce, fresh arugula. Then we're gonna take the sandwiches with the hoagie on a hinge. Right, we're gonna flip them over just like that. All right, we're gonna cut them in half. We're gonna stack it up on our plate. We made a really beautiful fresh coleslaw to go with the whole thing. Take a look at that. All right, I just like to present the sandwiches just like that. And you gotta get a little bit of sauce on your chin. Wow, flavors are phenomenal.
G's gonna be dropping the Meatball in here and getting that started. So, G, I've got that preheated for you.
Okay, awesome.
You're working the Meatball, a little olive oil right there. I've got the short ribs, a little salt and pepper. Let me borrow that for a second, thanks. I'm gonna put down a bit of oil.
Awesome.
G, some oil in there for you.
Thank you, brother.
Seasoned on this side. I'm gonna roll them, season the other side. Look at that. Tell me those aren't gorgeous. This is really what you want to ask your butcher to bring in for you. Holiday season, you could do a bunch of these, sear them off ahead of time, get them into a big pressure cooker. You don't have that, you can roast them off in the oven. Pressure cooker just kind of expedites things. So here we go. We're gonna go fat side down, start that rendering. There we go, so you can see what's going on. This is kind of like beef short rib Tetris.
Yeah, this is like short rib palooza.
There you go. If I was much higher on the side, like if I was in there, you wouldn't be able to sear the short ribs. They'd start to steam each other. But because this is low, this is cast iron, and it's smoking hot, it'll work. Okay, G.
Yeah.
So you look at the cut that he put on that. These could be big pieces if you wanted, but this is gonna cook down even faster. Okay, so we're turning that up, and I'm going all of the sides of the short rib. Takes a little bit of time, and then what I'll do is deglaze into this and dump this into the pot, okay? There we go. We drop this all down. And believe it or not, we're gonna be using this stock out of the pressure cooker later, so I'm even gonna dump this in, okay? This is where things are gonna get a little wild. Take a little red wine, deglaze this pan. Watch out.
3 cups fresh.
Deglaze a little bit of that. I'll pour the rest. How much wine do you think I should put in this?
Let's go
There
hard.
you go. Yeah, it's
Let's
a
go
whole
hard.
bottle. Okay, it is the holidays. Okay, so there's a bottle of red wine in there, and again, really good red wine. Deglazing the bottom of this. I could have cooked all this in the pressure cooker, but there wasn't enough room. And also the pressure cooker, although it's thick, isn't as thick as this cast iron. You really want to build crust, you go to this hot cast iron because it's not gonna, once it gets cold, once you drop those in, it's not gonna cool down to where it kinda sears the other side. It just keeps hammering it the whole time. Okay, now we go in with the deglazed pan. I'm gonna go in with some thyme and some sage. Drop this in. CG here, I just about have them covered, but I'm gonna grab a little of that chicken stock from you, excuse me. Okay, just a little bit more to where I'm about 3/4. Kind of like when we're braising something, just about that amount. Okay, so this is gonna start going. Gee, now here's how I have to do my pot. I have to spin this thing around. Quinoa's finished. I have to spin this thing around and find my mark. See this here?
Right.
See where that scratch is?
Oh, wow,
that
that's
scratch
crazy.
is. And you'll see that it starts to build the steam, If it goes too high, yes, it will start to release on itself through this valve. But don't worry about that. You'll be able to get it. Right around medium is where I keep it. This is gonna run for about 45 minutes. You got the polenta
Yeah.
work. I'm gonna shut down the heat here. This is gonna get loud for a second, okay? Just hang tight with me and just think some happy thoughts. Ready? Here we go.
That's the sound of good.
We're releasing the steam. We'll give it some little help here. Let the pressure out, open it up. It's always scary opening, and I agree. But when you see zero pressure, you know there's no pressure in it. Then we're gonna pull the short ribs out, G, let them cool so they tighten back up, they kind of congeal. We'll take the liquid, we'll strain that out, and then later we'll throw them on the grill and baste them with the sauce. But we gotta make sure that we remember to get this liquid out of the pressure cooker because that's gonna go in the barbecue sauce. I have made a reduction of the sauce that came out of the pressure cooker where I did these short ribs in literally, what, 45 minutes? Ooh. A lot of red wine, all that great flavor, and I reduced it just a little bit, mixed it into the barbecue sauce and brown sugar, a little red wine vinegar, and a little bit of chili flake, and this is gonna go to baste these ribs.
Dude, I remember when you made those that night.
We start grabbing some ribs, laying it down.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit of that thyme. See that? Tightening it up, okay? Be a little drizzle left.
The top.
Huh? What do you think, G?
If the question is what to serve at a beach barbecue, the answer's gotta be hamburgers. But I'm not talking about some weird flavor hamburgers. I'm talking about the classics, but with great ingredients, so the volume's turned up. I'm starting with 2 pounds of ground beef. Not just any ground beef. I use Niman Ranch ground beef to make them really moist, and nobody wants a dry hamburger. I'm gonna put in 3 tablespoons of olive oil. You won't believe what a difference this makes. To make them really flavorful, I'm gonna do a tablespoon of mustard. That's about a tablespoon. Fantastic. Teaspoon each of salt and pepper. And then the key to this is using a fork. You don't want to compact it at all. You want it to be light. So just mix it together with a fork. Keep it light. Niman Ranch cows are actually grown on grass rather than corn, and they have so much flavor. They're just delicious. So 2 pounds will make about 6 hamburgers. And they'll be so good on the grill at the beach. So just roll it around, about 1/3 of a pound per hamburger. Roll it around carefully, but don't compact it. That's one. After I've made the hamburgers, I'm gonna chill them. And while they chill, I'm gonna make caramelized onions to put on top. And then I'm gonna get the clams ready, and then it's off to the beach. My butcher actually carries Niman ranch beef, and I ask for it 80% lean, 20% fat to make sure they're really delicious and moist. But you can really use any premium grass-fed beef. Just like with everything else, I don't like ingredients that sort of overpower the main ingredient. I really want this to taste like absolutely delicious hamburgers. And I really think olive oil, mustard, salt, and pepper really just does that. I've invited 5 friends to the beach. Michael and Jim offered to do the setup. I mean, who would turn that down? I don't know. If it were me, it would probably be a barbecue, a beach blanket, and friends. But something tells me it's going to be a little fancier than that.
Good to me. Yeah, this is perfect, right? Don't go any further. You got it? Yep. Alrighty. How does that look? Little people. Okay. And dry. Ina said don't go to any trouble, but you know me, trouble's my middle name when it comes to a beach barbecue. That wasn't too bad. Yeah, it looks great. So here's the plan. We're setting up a beach oasis for Ina's barbecue. Okay, Michael, I got the grill. That looks great, right there. Leg going the right way? Yeah. All right, you got it. I can't wait to see what she thinks about it. I've got lots to do, so I better get back to work.
If there's anything that can make a good burger into a really great one, it's a big pile of caramelized onions on the top. So I've got 2 pounds of onions sliced thin. I'm just going to sauteing them until they're golden and melting. I'm going to make them sweet and sour, but more of that later. Let me show you how I got here. All I did was pour 2 tablespoons of good olive oil in a large pot and added 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. Then I tumbled in 2 pounds of yellow onions that were sliced into half rounds and a half a teaspoon of roughly chopped fresh thyme leaves. Then gave it a stir and left it to saute gently for 30 minutes. See what I mean about simple? No fancy ingredients, anything you get in the grocery store, simple procedure, and you end up with something absolutely delicious. Oh, they're getting to be nice and golden brown. And now for the vinegar part. I just think the sweetness of the onions is great with a little hit of vinegar. So I'm going to put in 2 tablespoons of sherry vinegar. It's a great counterpoint for onions. And just cook it for about 2 minutes until the vinegar is really absorbed. A teaspoon of salt. I want to make sure they're perfectly seasoned. Half a teaspoon of pepper. I love the vinegar when it hits the hot pan. The other thing it does is it deglazes the pan. So any sort of brown bits that stick to the pan are now absorbed into the onions. It's got all the flavor. It's so good. These are looking awfully good. Just make sure they're good. Warm vinegar is fantastic. That's going to be really good on a hamburger. Okay, that's done. I'm just going to put them in a container. Next, I'm going to make all the ingredients for clams with basil breadcrumbs. I'm going to take everything to the beach. This is going to be one great barbecue. So I brush the grill with a little oil, because what it does is it stops the burgers from sticking, and it also makes better grill marks, and we do love good grill marks. I put the burgers on one side. Is that good for you? I put the burgers on one side, and then I put the English muffins on the other side. Now, these look good.
Great.
The one thing you never want to do is press them down, because it takes all the juices out. You want the juices in the burger. Depending on how hot the grill is, it's about 4 minutes on each side. These are going to be so delicious. I have caramelized onions for the top.
They look perfect.
Okay, I'm going to flip them. Ooh, they look great. These look fab.
Perfect.
Are we having fun yet?
We're having fun.
Yeah!
I love English muffins and burgers.
Me too. I'm so glad you do. There's something about the combination. It's like the perfect thing. Grilled English muffins.
Yes.
Yes. I think the hamburgers are done. I'm just going to heat up the caramelized onions. make slowly caramelized onions with a little bit of cherry vinegar for the top of the burgers. Just heat them up. Okay, everybody, burgers are ready. But I know nobody really wants one, right? Hurry before Michael and I eat them all. No.
Ooh, English muffins, my fave.
Caramelized
I
onions?
think yes, all around.
All around. Oh, fab. Whoa. Fantastic. Cheers, everybody. Cheers.
All right.
And the good news is the fun doesn't stop. We're making s'mores.
All right.
Yay!
My barbecue pulled pork nachos are super cheesy and loaded with tender pulled pork. To start, I'll make a spice rub. I'll get a tablespoon of paprika, a tablespoon of garlic powder, and a tablespoon of onion powder. And then a tablespoon of kosher salt, and then a little bit of sweetness with 2 teaspoons of brown sugar. I'll whisk this to combine, and now I'll grab my pork. I've got pork shoulder here that's been cut into pieces, and this is gonna get so tender and juicy. I'm gonna toss this with my spice rub now. Okay, my pork is coated in the spice rub, and now in my Dutch oven here, I'm gonna add a tablespoon of oil, and now I'll add my pork and sear it on all sides. I wanna get some nice brown color to lock in that flavor. Now while this browns, I'll grab my onion. I'll slice this up and throw this into the pot, and it'll add really nice sweetness. Stir it around, and I'm gonna let these soften. Okay, now the last thing that this needs is some chicken stock. And this chicken stock is gonna help the pork cook and give it so much flavor. Okay, and now I'll bring this to a boil. Okay, now that this is boiling, I'm gonna cover it up and I'll stick it in the oven, and it's gonna braise at 300 degrees for 2.5 hours. All right, I'm gonna check on my pork. Oh, it smells so smoky and good. And I'm gonna get it out of the braising liquid, and then I'm gonna shred it. And then prep all of my toppings for the nachos. I've got sliced red onion, diced bell pepper, chopped pineapple, and sliced pepperoncini. Okay, now it's time to assemble. And making nachos is all about layering. I'm gonna start by layering half of my corn chips on the bottom of a skillet. I'll get 1 even layer here. And then I'm gonna layer on some of my pulled pork, but I'm first gonna mix it with some barbecue sauce. I'll mix this around. And now I'll scatter on half of my pulled pork. Good, even distribution. Now I'm gonna add some pepperoncini, and chopped pineapple will add great sweetness. Now my red pepper. These colors are so bright and beautiful. And my sliced red onion. All right, and I'll drizzle on a little more barbecue sauce. And then some mozzarella will melt and hold everything together. I'll finish this up with a little more barbecue sauce and the rest of my mozzarella. And now I'll stick this in the oven at 400 degrees for about 10 minutes until it's all melty and hot and gooey and good. Oh my goodness, these look and smell amazing. My family is gonna go crazy for these.
My picnic fried chicken, we're gonna brine it in a little pickle juice. I got my oil going at 350 over there. I got some just classic dill pickle juice. We're gonna put this in a bag with 1 fryer chicken that we've cut up into pieces. You got your breast, your thigh, your wings. And this is just gonna infuse it with that dilly, garlicky flavor. Help, literally inject moisture into it and draw moisture out so every bite is equally juicy. And that's not enough because we're gonna use this giardiniera in a bit. And I use this in everything because it gives you the, beautiful fermented, pickly quality. And this is, we're gonna save that in a minute, right? But we're gonna pour some of that juice right in there.
Love that.
Now we're taking that oil that we strained off. We're gonna save this for later. And that's gonna add
a whole nother level of flavor. It's going in the fridge. 2 hours minimum. Overnight you can do. The longer, the better. Got some ready to go.
I think with thighs, overnight. Like sometimes breasts and a whole chicken, it's too salty.
Yeah, you can definitely pull out the chicken after a couple hours if you want, but there's not a lot of salt. I mean, there's the more of the vinegar vibe and a lot of the kind of fermented, funky vibe in the giardiniera oil. So then we have these super flavorful brined chicken pieces. Now it's time for our dredge. Classic buttermilk. Classic flour that we're gonna even make crispier because it's picnic chicken. We're gonna be eating it outside a little later. Add some cornstarch. All right, for flavor, a little salt. Plenty of black pepper. I want this kind of spicy, right? Kind of slows you down too. Some paprika, sweet, and of course, a little cayenne. As much as you want.
I think you've got a nice insurance policy there by adding the cornstarch to the flour so it travels and keeps better.
Exactly. That was my point, Alex, and I'm glad you recognized that. Thank you. So I'm looking at, you gotta have a candy thermometer in there when you're frying at home in a non-electric fryer. And I see it's a little hot, so to bump it down, you add a little oil to bring down the ambient temperature quickly. Otherwise, you just take it off the heat and wait. There you go, I can already see it start to drop. So that'll be perfecto while we bread our chicken.
So you want the oil ready to go when you start breading?
Exactly. I got my oil going here, 350. We got the candy thermometer.
And skin on the chicken?
Oh, of course. Is there any other way? Do you like skinless fried chicken?
No, I don't.
Gotta have the skin on.
You gotta have the skin on. I mean, you chew on it a little bit, and that's what I love about these fryers. It's like the perfect size breast, you know?
Mixed emotions over here with the chicken skin.
You don't like chicken. You're not a big fried chicken fan. I think I'm gonna convert you this time.
What's not to like?
I don't know, it's just, I don't know.
I'm not trying to call you out. I just
prefer
think
roast
it's
chicken.
interesting.
I prefer roast chicken, barbecue chicken, anything, but it's not my favorite type of.
Wow, I wish that I felt that way. You deep fry just about anything and I like it.
I'm with you, Katie. How about mozzarella sticks? Come on, bro. You like a deep fried mozzarella stick. Cheese stick?
When I'm with you, I do.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry, Jeff, it's a burrata stick.
I'm sorry, of course. So I am doing the breast first because they're the largest of the cuts in here.
You double dip?
No, I do not double dip. Not for this application.
Not to brush.
And you could always take some of these for these first couple ones and sprinkle some of that buttermilk in there like we like to do to create even more of those bits that get super crispy on there. I'm gonna bread these side by side first and then shake off the excess, plenty. You don't wanna kind of mucking up the fry oil there. It's going right in, gently, very gently. There she goes. We'll get this other one going. I'm pulling out a leg here.
Picnic
and you can
chicken.
tell it is nicely, beautifully golden brown. I got a breast in here ready to go.
Gorgeous.
I mean, that is what we're looking for, that golden brown color. It's so hot right now. 160, golden brown, perfectly cooked in the inside that you need to let this rest, even if you're gonna eat it hot, you know?
Yeah.
Let this guy go another minute or, oh no, I think that's perfect. I'm gonna take that out, shut her down. And there you have it. The fried chicken portion is now finito, and now we can get to that honey giardiniera butter.
I mean, Jeff, I think we need to take a moment and say how perfect that breading looks. It is so crispy.
Right, and we got these little guys poking out everywhere. The thing that everybody grabs when you walk by, you know, a nice big pile of fried chicken.
Get a little.
Let me get a little taste there. And you deserve it.
Are we allowed to go ahead and have a little
You can have it. I have some on there, and you can feel free. I know, Jeffrey, you're a little confused by the honey butter.
I am.
It's very popular. A lot of Southern preparations of fried chicken. You dunk it in a little extra rich butter. If you're gonna go the distance.
This is just crunchy on the outside.
Very excellent. And also the flavor, the marinade's so important.
Yeah.
It's like a water bath inside of moisture.
Because let's talk about bacon, rendered bacon, going down to create this awesome, I mean, if you want to think about it, we're going to cook the brats, we're going to braise the brats, then we're going to pull the brats out. So all the liquid from braising the brats is going to go together with these vegetables and this bacon. Outrageous. Anytime I smell bacon. Okay, so we'll let that render down, get this knife cleaned off, and get into dropping some veggies. So what do you like with your brats, huh? I like it all. Peppers and onions are the key though, okay? So we'll do some peppers, some onions, and some garlic. get this moving around. I chopped that bacon up a bunch because I want it to kind of render down fast, and I want all of that great bacon flavor to dissolve into this mixture. So, green bell, red bell, big onion. Fresh bell pepper. And with the green bell pepper. And now an onion. Now, let's talk about the type of beer we're gonna put in here. We're gonna put a lager in this. I don't want a beer that's gonna overpower it though. I don't want it to taste like beer and onions. Peppers, onions, bacon in, get a couple cloves of garlic. I've got enough moisture in there, I don't have to worry about this really burning. And I'm also just gonna give these a quick little chop. And in a second, I'll deglaze this with some beer once it starts to caramelize up. Smells awesome already. Touch of some salt and pepper. There we go, okay? Now I've got this braising liquid over here that is just ready to rock. Got peppers and onions and bacon and rosemary and thyme and bay leaf, you name it. I'm gonna drop brats in there in a little bit. And you say you're gonna cook the brats? I thought it was a grilling show. What? Exactly. I'm gonna cook them in here, let some of their flavor marry with this flavor, make sure they're cooked all the way through, and then boom, take them over to the grill indoors and crisp them up. Now right here, I got some cabbage, and we are making a quick sauerkraut. I'll tell you something, there are some canned sauerkrauts that I really enjoy, but making your own when it's this simple, can't beat it. I've got a mixture here, a little packet of some pickling spice in there, sugar, apple cider vinegar, a little bit of water, and some salt. I'm gonna pour this right over the top, quickly wilt this. This is gonna go quick and fast. It'll wilt this down, I'll put a little pressure on it. With a plate and a bowl, kind of press this down a little. Huh? What do you think of that trick? As soon as this cools, pop it in the fridge, and then we'll let it really cool down for the service. Now, to go along with this, get this cleaned up a little bit here. To go along with this, I'm gonna grill some apples. Apples, beer, sausage, cabbage, all that thing, totally. We'll grab these. Before we go any further, let me do this. Here's one of the things. I don't care if you're working with 1 apple or 10 apples. You get sidetracked, that apple oxidizes. So what I'm gonna do here is a little bit of water, a little bit of lemon, and then if you get sidetracked in your process, you don't have to worry it, because as soon as I cut the apples, I'm gonna drop them in there. Okay, so we get in these apples, cut them in half. If I had that core, remember the core thing you had when you were a kid, you press it down, it made you the perfect apple slices? Now apple slices, kids think come in a bag. There we go, very nice. Okay, so get the core out. Now what's gonna happen, I'm gonna cut the apples in quarters, throw them onto the grill up both sides. That'll really caramelize some of the natural sugars. Then I'll take them, chop them down a little bit further, and serve them with that sauerkraut. All right, so we get the apples cored. I dropped them there so they didn't oxidize. A little bit of that, but not too much lemon juice that they taste like lemon apples, okay? Over here, we'll get a little vegetable oil on there, just a touch. Put the apples, start to grill. Okay, where are we at? So we got the apples done, we got the cabbage done. Let's talk about the brats now. I don't know about you, but brats are the bomb. Now, even bad brats I like. But these brats, I got 2 pounds fresh brats. So what do they mean? What does brats mean? So it means finely ground sausage. Okay, the brat is the finely ground part, the word bratwurst. The worst is where you start talking about it being the sausage. Now, the Germans, I think, were the best at it. So look at this. Look at those bad boys right there. Gorgeous, okay? Now this is something you're not gonna see me do often, but I'm gonna do it here and I'll explain why. I'm gonna poke these with this skewer all the way through these sausages. What I want this to do is while it cooks, I want the sausage to share its flavor in this braising liquid with these veggies, and I want the veggies to share their flavor with the brats, okay? So those look pretty good. I'll just put these back in the no, come on. See people do that. Okay, let me grab a pair of tongs. Submerge them down in the liquid. Remember, we got the chicken stock, bacon, the 2 2 bottles of lager in there, the peppers, the onions, the rosemary, the thyme, the garlic. I mean, the flavor profile that's going on in here is nuts. What's gonna make this go even better is the spetzel we're gonna make to go along with it. Okay, everybody's in, maybe 15 minutes, we'll be in good shape. You with me? You sticking with me? We're gonna grill, trust me, we will grill it. Did you just give me a big yes? I like that. Now I'm gonna pull them out, let them cool a bit, slice them, and then throw them on the grill to build some awesome texture. So we're talking about how to add some extra flavor and texture to this already fantastic brat. This is the way we do it. So let this braising liquid continue to reduce. Now, the final piece here, make sure my heat's off, we're gonna get in some whole grain mustard. Now, this was my braising liquid. We started with bacon, rendering that down. Then we had peppers, onions, garlic. Then we threw in some thyme. I mean, we had beer going there too. We had 2 bottles of lager. Put all this butter in there as well. Outrageous. A little parsley going in here. Here's the brats. So they kind of shared their juices with this. So you've got cooked down onions and bacon and these herbs and everybody together. Now, ready? First, we'll go down with a couple sausage. Hit a little bit of this mixture of the cooked down onions and peppers with the bacon right inside of there. We'll get a little bit of the sauerkraut on here, right on the side. Nice and refreshing, believe it or not, that acid in that's really gonna help, okay? And then kicking it over to the side here, a little of the herb butter spetzel with a little bit of Parmesan cheese on it. That goes right on top. I said grilling menu, you didn't expect this level of a grilling menu. All right, I'm gonna take a bite right here in the center of it all. Look at this. Get that sausage. That's terrible. Don't need any of those. I'm kidding. That's outrageous. I always tell you in the menu, you know, like make an extra one, make 12 of those. The texture of it, a lot of times sausage doesn't have a lot of texture to it. This with the grilling, after braising it, going to the grill and putting that on the outside, putting a little crisp on the outside, outrageous. The bacon, the peppers, onions, you cook that down, you could put it on anything.
County Fair turkey legs. So I'm gonna make a seasoning mix first, and it's paprika, chili powder, cumin, thyme. Oh, that was more thyme than I meant. Garlic powder, and lots of salt and pepper. You can honestly use any kind of seasoning mix that you like. That's just a good, basic, really savory combination. And basically, you get this roasted turkey leg and carry it around the state fair and just gnaw on it as you go.
Yes.
So I've got these turkey legs, and I wrapped the end in foil. And so you really want to generously sprinkle on this seasoning on the first side, and then turn them over. So after you get all the seasoning on the turkey legs, they need to go into the fridge. You can cover them in plastic wrap if you like. Oh, clunk. Just put those in there. But I have these, and they've been in the fridge for a couple of hours. I was a little more careful with the previous batch of seasoning. But look at that.
Wow.
It just gives the seasoning time to kind of get in there and penetrate. So let's get these in the oven. So they're gonna roast at 325 degrees for 40 to 45 minutes until they reach an internal temperature of 160.
Wow.
They smell so good. So I'm actually gonna turn on the broiler. Let's wait for it to stop beeping. And I'm gonna put them under the broiler, but first I wanna brush on a little bit of honey, which just kind of deepens the magic, I think. Just kind of dab it on, and I'll put it under the broiler just so the turkey legs can get a little bit caramelized. And there's so much like savory stuff in that seasoning mix that we made that the honey just kind of gives it a little bit of like salty sweet magic. Really yummy. All right, do those look properly glazed.
They look great.
They really do. Wow. So I will put this back into the oven and just let them kind of finish up under the broiler. And again, you know how I love a dipping sauce. I'm gonna make a quick little sauce to serve with the turkey legs. And it starts with barbecue sauce, a little bit of soy sauce, a little bit of hot sauce, and more honey. Get down there, honey. But if you want to serve these at a party at your house, this is a great little sauce to serve with it. So I'll pour it into this cute little cup. Ooh.
Oh my goodness.
That was actually the perfect amount of time. Ooh, gosh, those are good. Now, at the state fair, usually they're kind of cool enough to handle, so you can let them sit and rest for just a little bit, but how fun are these? Oh my gosh. It just makes chicken legs look sorely inadequate, unabashedly big. All right. County Fair turkey legs, also known in some circles as caveman pops. Tell you what, if you like to get your protein in, this is about a week's worth right here.
Now, when I make meatloaf, I like to use 2 different kinds of meat. I like to use ground beef for flavor, and I like to use ground pork for the fat. All right, now we're gonna start to add our delicious flavor in here. We got our tomato relish, tomato and sweet pepper relish, that I'm gonna use half of. All right, and this is gonna give so much really delicious, creamy flavor and moisture to the inside of the meatloaf. All right, so half is gonna go inside. 1 good smear is gonna go on the top, and I like to serve a little on the side. Okay, so we're gonna take an egg, crack 1 egg inside. All right, we're gonna take some fresh thyme, and fresh herbs make such an enormous difference in your cooking. Just using like even fresh parsley versus that dried stuff makes your food taste so fantastic and fresh. All right, now I'm gonna add my couple slices of white bread that have been soaking in whole milk. All right, I wanna take it out. I just wanna gently squeeze the bread. I wanna try to get some of the excess milk out. Like that. Go ahead and just throw in a nice little pinch of some good kosher salt right on top. A few cracks of pepper. And now it's time for the dirty work. All right, just give it a gentle mix. Now you don't wanna over mix it. All right, so I'm gonna take it. All right, dump it right in the center of our sheet pan. All right, I'm just gonna free form a nice little loaf shape. Okay, now we take our tomato relish, all right, put a couple dollops right on top. And then it's something my dad always does, but I think it's excellent. I like bacon on everything. And the bacon's gonna add a nice little smoky flavor to it. All right, we're just gonna shingle these guys right on top. All right, so I have my oven preheated at 350 degrees. I'm gonna drop this in for like an hour or an hour and 20 minutes. All right, and you're definitely gonna know when it's done. It's gonna look beautiful and golden, and the bacon's gonna look nice and crunchy on top. Oh, check that out. Looks exceptional, okay? Now all the fat is drained off, right? It's a little dark on the outside, but the meat is cooked perfectly. It's roasted. I can smell the bacon. I can smell that delicious tomato and sweet pepper relish. Now I'll leave it on the counter. I'm just gonna let it rest. All right, guys, take a look at this. It looks spectacular. The bacon is nice and crispy on top, and we took a little bit of our pepper and tomato relish and kind of streamed it right along the top. Simple parsley for a garnish. Pile it right on the side. That looks awesome. All right, I'm gonna give it a little taste. And that is delicious. Dad, you are a talented man. Thanks for the ultimate meatloaf. This is the best.
Dry, smoked, rub type chicken. So I'm gonna make this dry rub. Equal parts smoked paprika, some parsley, and some oregano. Any family member in my family, I always supply them with some house seasoning. Garlic powder, onion powder, sweet paprika, salt and pepper. Add just a little bit more salt. Some brown sugar in there. It's gonna get nice and caramelized on the grill when it smokes. All right, that's done. So I got a 5-pound bird here, a whole roaster. Take that backbone out, and that's gonna help the chicken cook much faster. And I'm gonna cut it in half. All right, there we go.
What you been doing since I've been out there sweating on that grill?
You act like you put something on the grill. It's like all you did was get it started. What?
It's not. So what you doing now?
I'm just rubbing the chicken down with the rub that I made with my house seasoning, the light brown sugar, you know, all that jazz. Getting underneath there, getting in the cavity, you know what I'm saying? You know how we do it, flavor all around. All right, Ma, thank you. Let me put this on here. I'm gonna get it on the grill. I like to keep the grill about 250, 300 when you're doing indirect smoking. Coals on the right side, I'm gonna put the chicken on the left. The smoke inside the grill is cooking the chicken versus directly putting it on top of the coals. It's gonna be infused with that smoky flavor. Let it stay on there for about 45 minutes to an hour. Then I'm gonna take those bad boys over, put on the other side towards the end and get a nice little char and those grill lines on top. I'm excited. My mom loves Alabama white sauce. She puts it on every like barbecue ribs. I mean, it's better for like chicken and pork. So that's about a cup of mayo, some apple cider vinegar because it is a vinegar-based sauce, about 2 tablespoons. Some Dijon mustard goes in there, just a squirt. Okay. A little horseradish, a little zest, a little zip, a little dry mustard in there as well. Dry mustard just complements that Dijon that we're already using. A little hot sauce, a little heat, a few dashes, salt, pepper. And I kind of like to go heavy on that pepper. Brown sugar just to kind of mellow everything out because I'm using so much vinegar and hot sauce. The juice of half of a lemon. So it's a little tangy, it's a little sweet.
So you said the vinegar is not gonna be too much?
That's how you like your sauce. Trying to question me.
Oh, excuse me.
Let me taste it. I think I got it now.
That's it?
Perfection.
I'm gonna taste it because I'm the one that likes the sauce.
Let's see.
That's it. I taste the lemon juice. You know, I taste the vinegar.
It's creamy, a little sweet. Let's see, what that brown sugar does is more so like mellow it out versus it being a really sweet sauce. Okay, let me finish up the chicken, and I know you're gonna clean up because that's what you always do.
That's exactly what I do. I clean as I go. Kardea will tear up a whole kitchen.
Ooh, look at that chicken. It's nice and brown and pretty. Skin side down first. Most of the cooking got done over here with the indirect smoke. What I'm doing right now is just basically getting that char on the skin side. Probably around, I would say like the 12-minute mark, I'm gonna flip it over and let that other side get nice and grilled as well. So my brother thinks he's a grill master. I keep telling him, no matter where I am, whether it's Charleston, Edisto, I am still the grill master. Ain't that right, Ma?
Show you right.
The dogs think so. Chicken has to cook to 165. That's where it's the safe zone. Put it in the thickest part of the chicken right here in the breast. Yep, actually way up to temp. So let's get it off. Ooh, you see the juices coming out of that? That smells incredible. The spices, that house seasoning, the brown sugar. These are beautiful. Oh, now we're talking. Oh, now we're smoking.
Now let me grab this bad boy. Let's talk about this Charmoula lamb chop. Now, I don't know about you, but I can eat lamb chops like lollipops. And this is gonna be a really nice, flavorful chop, kind of setting into our whole Mediterranean, North African theme. Okay, hold that bad boy. Great way to keep from cutting yourself, sharp knives and cutting boards that don't move on you. Let's grab the chops. One of the things you should have is always a buddy that is a good butcher. And get that butcher to go ahead and French these lamb chops for you. But before we get into doing that, let's make this rub that we're gonna put on the chops, okay? The cast of characters. Little ground cumin, okay? That's gonna take kind of the lead in this. So a little bit of cumin. Just a touch of paprika. A lot of time when I'm making rubs, like for blackening spice, paprika takes the big lead. This is just gonna get a touch, some nice color coming out of this. There we go. And believe it or not, the whole thing of cayenne, no, I'm just kidding, just a touch of cayenne. There we go. And some salt, okay? So we kind of mix that together. Now what I'm gonna do is reserve this. Take about half of this mixture and hold on to it, because that's gonna be actually going into our Charmoula sauce, which is gonna have some fresh herbs in it and some lemon juice. You're gonna love this, okay? Get about half of that here. There we go. We'll hold that for the Charmoula sauce. This we're gonna do. Now what we're gonna do, let's take a look at these chops. This is where it really pays off. Think about this. When the meat is nice and pink, it's usually the younger, the lamb. what happens is I think people have had some lamb where it gets a little bit older and it's a little more gamey flavored for them. So what I'm looking for here is some really nice tight eyes and nice pink meat to it, okay? Now this is the Frenching thing I was talking about where they've come through here and cleaned all the meat off the bone. Really looks nice. Me personally, sometimes I like to have the meat on the bone and I kind of treat it like a pork rib. So what I'm gonna do here is big bite style. I'm gonna make these a double cut chop. So cut it right through here, right there, okay? So I gotta cut all these, hit them with a little bit of olive oil, sprinkle them with some of that seasoning I just made, let them hang out for about 30 minutes before I put them on the hot grill. You know, when you're battering something, you're doing some Parmesan chicken, you have the dry hand, wet hand. Well, I have the dry hand, lamb hand. One to rub it all in, but I want you to take a look at that. Look at that beautiful chop right there, all rubbed in with that spices. It is gonna be dynamite. Okay, so this one here, to grab that, there we go, I'll put it away, wash up. Now what's gonna happen is I'll let it sit there with that olive oil and that rub on there. I could have made that into a paste, but I don't think the paste kind of spreads out as evenly as I want it to. So that's gonna sit on the counter about 30 minutes, kind of hang out at room temperature, and then we're gonna grill them and they're gonna be dynamite. We're gonna make the charmoula sauce in a little bit. Ah, here we are. This is the star of the show. This double cut lamb chop that I did with an oil dry rub, throwing these onto a really hot grill. Now, we've got some cumin in there, a little cayenne, a little bit of paprika. Cut these myself. These are Frenched, meaning cleaning the bone off. And I'm gonna make a charmoula sauce for this that you are gonna dig. But I gotta keep an eye on them. I get a little flare up there, I'll move them off. Okay, turn the heat down a bit. Sear them on both sides. I could finish them in the oven if I need to, but I think they're looking good as they are. Okay, let's go shopping. Cilantro, parsley, and some thyme. Okay, thyme's gonna be going into the potatoes actually, and the cilantro and the parsley, they're gonna be going to this food processor here to make the charmoula. The charmoula is kind of like, well, if you wanna think of North African, Middle Eastern curry. You know, it's made a lot of different ways. This is my little spin on it, usually has garlic in it. I think you'll dig this. Okay, couple onions, remove a lid, find a knife. No mini knife, that's a knife. Okay, take that. That. Okay, got to keep an eye on those chops. There's a tendency, you know, that people think with lamb and with pork that you really got to overcook it. And my thing is boy, I want to have a little pink in the middle. Okay, so in go the onions. Okay, so what I gotta do, I gotta chop up the onions, get some garlic in, the parsley, the cilantro, zest some lemon juice in there. Remember some of that seasoning that I put on the lamb? That goes in. That will be my charmoula. Watch this happen. Get a little taste on this. Primo. Not too much salt, that's the key. All right, that's ready to go. Let's see, I got my hash working. Take a look at these chops. Oh, here we go. Look at these lamb chops. Double cut, done with a dry rub, a little bit of olive oil, grilled them to perfection, hits it with a little bit of this charmoula. Check that out with the cilantro and the parsley and the onions and a little bit of garlic and some lemon and some of that dry rub I used also. I gotta get into a bite of this. Smells dynamite. Just the temperature I'm looking for, a little medium rare there. See, these are all for me. No, they're not really. But look at that. I could eat those like a lollipop. Now, try a little bite with some of that charmoula, kind of like the, you know, you could call it a salsa verde in Italian. Get the lamb flavor, not overpowered. Definitely get some of that garlic and some of that citrus, you know, some of the lemon coming through.
I'm making my barbecue brisket sandwiches. They're tender and juicy, and they've got some delicious Jewish flair too. To get started, I've got a 4-pound brisket here, and I'm seasoning it all over with kosher salt. Yum. Okay, I'll grab my slow cooker bowl. This way I can just get it in here. I'm starting with a cup of red wine. So good. Okay, I'm gonna add a cup of ketchup, half a cup of tomato paste. It'll add a lot of richness. A few tablespoons of brown sugar, a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, a couple of teaspoons of mustard powder, and then a teaspoon each of onion powder and garlic powder. And then half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper for some heat. I'll whisk this together. Okay, I'm gonna get the brisket right into the liquid. I'll smush it around so that it gets coated in my barbecue sauce. This is one delicious, boozy barbecue sauce. Okay, I want it to be fat side up. I'll get this into my slow cooker, and this is gonna take about 4 to 5 hours to cook on high. My brisket has been braising in a red wine barbecue sauce for the past 4 hours. Oh, I'm gonna let this rest so that the juices can redistribute. I don't want it to dry out. Okay, I'm gonna reduce this sauce now into a thickened barbecue sauce. It's gonna go great on the sandwiches. And I'll just let this simmer while I make my caraway coleslaw. So I'm starting with my cabbage, and cabbage is kind of tough. I want to give it a head start on softening. And so I'm gonna massage it with some salt, and that's gonna help it break down and achieve that flexible coleslaw state. Okay, I'll set this aside, and then I'm gonna make my dressing. I've got some Dijon mustard and some mayonnaise, so it'll add a nice creamy element. And I'll start with a 1/4 cup. Just plop that right in. A little bit of Dijon will brighten it up. Some apple cider vinegar, some sugar, caraway seeds, and these are gonna add woodsy bitter notes. I'll season with salt and pepper. Okay, I'll pour this right over my cabbage. I'll get in some sliced onions and carrots, just for extra color and crunch and a little sweetness. And I'll toss this all together. Okay, my brisket is rested and I'm ready to slice it up so that I can assemble. And so, just like any meat, I'm gonna cut it across the grain into some nice thick slices. This looks so juicy and tender. It's basically cutting itself. All right, I'm done slicing. I'm gonna grab my buns. They've been toasting. I love a toasted bun with this. To put these together, I'll grab the bottom half of a bun, spread it with some sauce. Oh yeah, look at how thick that is. I'll add a big slice of brisket on top. I'll pile on some coleslaw. Add a little sauce to the top half of the bun. Sandwich it on top. I love that. Barbecue. I've got to taste. Oh, that's juicy.
I'm gonna start off with my barbecue honey mustard, and it's a mayo-based honey mustard sauce. So I have some mayo in here. I'm gonna add a little barbecue sauce, a little honey. I'm gonna add a little yellow mustard, and a little salt, and some pepper. And that's it for this sauce. So this sauce is a little sweet, very creamy. Of course, has that smokiness from the barbecue sauce and that tang from the mustard. Now I'm gonna make my sauce. This brown sauce. This sauce is a little sweeter than my barbecue honey mustard I made right there, and it's a little more tangier too. All right, so my mayo's in there. I'm gonna add some ketchup, sweet relish, add a little bit more tang with distilled vinegar, about a capful, and a few pinches of sugar. A little salt, and some black pepper. Mix it up. Oh yeah. Okay, give it a taste. Perfection. Barbecue honey mustard is done. This brown sauce is done. Now it's time to get to smashing. I have some ground chuck here. That's about 80-20. That means it's 80% meat, 20% fat. So it's enough ratio to get the burgers nice and juicy. What I like to do before I add the burgers to my griddle is hit it with some salt and pepper. If you add salt while you're mixing it, it's just gonna draw out all of the moisture in this beautiful piece of meat. And it also helps to make that nice crust on top. I have a griddle here that's extremely hot. I'm gonna add some butter. And I like using butter to grill my burgers with because, you know, butter has a little moisture in there, so it's gonna help keep those patties nice and juicy. All right, I'm gonna put it seasoned side down first and work fast. And I'm gonna do 2 batches of these. I have my grill press right here. Smash it down. Use all your strength. When you smash your burger, what happens is you create an even cooking surface. So all parts of the meat gets crispy, browned, and delicious. All right, and I'm also gonna hit this side with some more salt and pepper. What I like to do is let it cook for about 2 to 3 minutes, and I'm not gonna mess with it. If you mess with it right now, it'll fall apart. All right, so it's been about 2 to 3 minutes. I'm gonna flip them. Oh, look how golden brown and crispy. Because these are thin burgers, they're gonna cook extremely fast. So you wanna make sure that you put your cheese on right after the 1 minute mark when you flip it. All right, so my first batch is done. And because my griddle has so much oil and butter from the beef from the first round, you don't need to add any more butter. Just put it right on there. Now I'm gonna build my burger. So I'm gonna put my barbecue honey mustard at the bottom, put my first patty down, then the second patty. I gotta go with some pickles, a little red onion, some bacon, and a little lettuce. Gotta get your veggies in there. Now I'm gonna top it off with this brown sauce. All right, close the lid. Oh my goodness. Slice it in half. That.
I'm gonna brush both sides of this steak with Dijon all the way around. 4-finger pinch here. You need to salt a steak this thick very liberally. It's thick, it needs a lot of room to permeate, and a good amount of cracked black pepper, same thing. Now, reverse searing. Here's what you need to know. We're gonna be at a very low temperature here. I have coals on the back third of the grill. Once we get to that 105, 110, the steak is just about done. All we need to do at that point is sear it at the last minute before we serve it. Roasted garlic, anchovy butter. We need to roast the garlic. The good news is these reverse sear steaks are gonna take about an hour. Roasted garlic takes about an hour. So we're gonna put them in at the same time. I'm gonna cut the root end off the garlic, like so. We're going to place the garlic in our foil.
You leave all the skin on there?
Yep. We're gonna put a liberal amount of extra virgin olive oil on top. And we're gonna put a nice big pinch of sea salt. So we're gonna wrap this up in a little happy package, and we're gonna put it in with our steaks. We'll also cook this in about the same amount of time. All right, the anchovies. Pinch of salt on our cutting board. There's 2 anchovies here actually. I'm gonna give them a quick little chop. I put the anchovies on the board, and now I'm just smashing them into a paste with that sea salt. So they're kind of just dissolving, so those non-anchovy people aren't even gonna recognize that they were in the butter. So we have our softened butter, our anchovies. I'm gonna cut up some chives. All right, so chives are there. They go in with our butter. I like a lot of pepper with steaks, so I'm gonna go a good couple turns of cracked black pepper, pinch of sea salt, fork. So look, the butter, the chives, the salt and the pepper. We're reverse searing the steaks, Liz, so I'm gonna grab these steaks and just start the searing process.
Okay.
Look what's happening here. Look at how quick it happens.
Yep.
Because we put that reverse sear on it, not hot grill. So I have the anchovy, butter, chives, salt, and pepper. We roasted a head of garlic. I'm gonna squeeze the head of garlic in with.
Ah, that's why you keep the skin on.
Now watch this, Liz. The nice thing about this reverse sear method, you don't have to let it rest too long. So it is still pretty hot on top, and we're gonna spread that anchovy, herb, garlic, butter right over top of that. All right, now this one is ours. I'm gonna cut them up. Look at it. See that? When you do the reverse sear, it just cooks it real evenly all the way through. We're gonna take some
flaky salt,
put it on top.
Things. They're perfect.
Ladies and gentlemen, the king has left the building. I know I'm a chef and I could cook, but like the thing that I feel that I do better than almost anybody is steak.